Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for the 46th time and the last time before Christmas, welcome to the latest episode of the Hard Compound Live. For those of you who don't know, my name's Rich and I run and operate the Hard Compound. We're a one-stop shop for all things motorsport, and we can be found primarily on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So search for the Hard Compound. Come and give us a follow. And join in the fun. We're here to share a love of motorsport. That's all. Nothing else. We love motorsport. We want to share that with like-minded people. We put out 3 written articles a day on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. These go out about 9 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and about 8 o'clock at night. Every day, and these take the form of race reviews, race previews, breaking news, throwbacks, birthdays, any like liveries that we like, and anything that we can shake a stick at, really. So yeah, here to share a love of motorsport. Come along and join in the fun. In case you hadn't noticed, we also do live video interviews just like this one. And just like this one, these are streamed on our Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. So do head over to YouTube and subscribe over there. They are automatically saved in the video section on Facebook and in the live section on YouTube. We've done almost 150 of these now, I believe, which is amazing. Was never part of the plan. I'm not going to name all the guests that we've had, but we've had a number of guests, as I said, from across the motorsport spectrum. We've spoken to a lot of the British touring car grid, the like mini challenge grid here in the UK. We've spoken to F1 drivers, world champions, IndyCar drivers, Indy 500 winners, sports car races, and people that have done a mix of all of those. Just a few names. We've spoken with Mr. Mario Andretti and Jackie Ickx. We spoke with Jackie Oliver just a few weeks ago. Just last week, we spoke with Mr. Tim Schenken. We've also spoken with Mark Blundell and David Brabham and Derek Warwick and Emanuele Pirro and Takuma Sato, Ukyo Katayama, guys like Max Gertz and Alex Tagliani, Alex Palou, Will Power, Danny Sullivan, Ari Lyondike, Eddie Cheever, Derek Daly, Connor Daly, and many, many others. So they're all saved, as I said. Do go and check them out if you so wish. But don't do it just yet, because we have got a very exciting guest joining us this evening. He is a real rising star of motorsport over here in the UK, where he's currently racing. He's a multiple champion in karting and in radicals, and he's even won a championship in endurance racing. But if you're tuning in, you probably know him from the British Touring Car Championship, where he has just signed with West Surrey Racing. Plenty to get through, plenty to look forward to. So, without any further ado, please join me in extending a very, very warm welcome to the very talented Daryl DeLeon.
Hello, I've just disconnected there. Is my back all okay now?
You're back. You gave me heart failure. You vanished for a minute.
Don't worry, my heart dropped too. Don't worry.
No, it's absolutely fine. I just paused for a minute and you came back. So we're all good. Daryl, firstly, congratulations on joining WSR. Fantastic move. How's it all been in the last like 10 days or so since the announcement?
I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I think when it actually got announced on Instagram as well, not only on Instagram, but when it got announced, I was just, you sort of have these feelings, these thoughts where you just can't really believe it, really. So that's what was going through my mind when it first got released. But yeah, calmed down a bit now, but I'm just really excited for the year ahead.
Yes, absolutely. I am sure a few people tuned in to Alan High's Tin Top Tuesday last night, and he said that you could tell that you're absolutely buzzing to get going. You said that you're going to be getting behind the wheel around kind of March kind of time, you think?
Yeah, I think around that time. I think the earlier the better, but again, we've got a break ahead, so I think it will be February, March time.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we're absolutely. I mean, I'm personally very much looking forward to that, and I can see from the comment section already that there's other people are. We're going to come, obviously, to WSR and the upcoming season a bit later. Just before we dive into everything, though, I want to say hello to just some people in the comment section, guys. If you have any comments or questions, whichever platform you're tuning in on, just type them in or have a chat amongst yourselves. And if you have any questions or comments, I will do my best to work them in. As always, just want to say hello to some of the guys who are tuning in. We've got Kay Warren, hello, Kay, Tracy Hickley, hello. Andy Hopley, Hoppers from Hoppers Motorsport Vlogs. Do go and check him out on Facebook, guys. I for Ronaldo, Nikki, our friend from over the Nürburgring. Hi, Nikki. How are you, man? Sharon, she's a WSR fan. She's in. Drew Crease, evening, Drew. Matthew Clark, Emily Eaton, and I've already said Kay Warren as well. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. There's nearly 100 of you already, which is very nice. As I say, any comments or questions, pop them in, and we'll work them in. Thank you. Right. Breathe. Intro done. Right. I mean, yeah, before we get to the big news of the last week or so, I'd like to go right back to the start, which for some people is many, many years, not so much in your case, because you're considerably younger than me. But I knew that you have like Filipino heritage, but I didn't know that you were born in Ireland. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was born in Ireland, Drogheda. It was so.
Yeah, very cool mix. Very cool mix of backgrounds there. Where did the interest in motorsport come from? Was there anything in your family to begin with, or were you just taken by something?
So my dad done a bit of karting when he was younger. It wasn't sort of competing at the high levels or anything. He just went down to Rye House, have a bit of fun. And I don't actually remember when I first jumped in a go-kart, but apparently I was 3 years old and I hit the pedal, hit the go pedal, and went off without a helmet. So that's apparently what happened. But that's where it all started, really. 3 years old at Rye House. That's where my motorsport career started. And then, to be honest, actually, at 8 years old, I was a football player as well. And then I had the choice between the two. So it was either football or motorsport. And very glad I chose motorsport.
Absolutely. I mean, it already feels like the right decision, even if it is a bit more expensive than a pair of football boots. But you know, you've got to spend money to make money, as they say. Which is very, very cool. I just love the fact that you got into a cart and went before anyone could sort of stop you. That sounds like the perfect way to go racing. I mean, you said you don't really remember how it all happened, but do you remember the first time you entered a competitive race, or you mentioned about maybe going racing competitively?
I briefly remember. I started at Wright House in the rental carts, and then when I was 8 years old, I then progressed into like the Honda Cadet class. So that was the carts, faster carts between the age bracket of 8 and 13. But I sort of briefly remember going around Wright House many cold, wet nights, but it was all good fun.
Yeah, fantastic. And if you can do it when it's cold and wet, you know you've got the bug. And I've got. I mean, I did a bit of research on your karting. I couldn't find all the results and everything, but between sort of 2013 and sort of 2019, I guess, was when you were sort of peak karting, I guess. And I did read on an article that you won or finished on the podium over 150 times. When that happens, I guess you know you're quite good at this. When did you start thinking about maybe I could step up to cars? Maybe there's a future in this for me.
So it all started as just sort of a hobby and a bit of fun. But to be honest, ever since I've got in the karts, I've always wanted to win and do well. So as to the fun side of things, I was always really competitive as well. If I'd be happy if I got a podium, but if I wasn't fast or anything like that, I'd always be a bit, you need to come back stronger. So there was always a competitive element to that, and I always wanted to do well and progress. There's actually one stage in my career where I wanted to stop. It was I wanted to stop. I broke my arm at Rye House. I was a smaller cart and I got driven over by one of the senior road taxis, so it snapped my right arm in half. And
Oh,
I remember looking down and not seeing my arm at all. So then that's when I was like, yeah, this is it. It took half a year, 6 months to recover, and I got back in the cart, built my courage again, and but to me, I said that was it. After Honda Cadet, I want to stop, and that I thought I wouldn't be where I am today. But after the junior, I did a junior X30 test, which is the next kart up, and the speed difference of that was amazing. So I really wanted to continue with motorsport. That day changed my mind, and I'm so happy I done that day on my 12th birthday.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I think it speaks volumes about you, even at a young age. I mean, unfortunately I've had a fairly serious leg injury years ago, but it does shock you, doesn't it? And you think bad stuff can happen here. And I think it says a lot about you that you, even if you initially didn't want to go back long term, you still went back and completed, the short term thing. But it's even better that you got the bug again, like in the faster car, and I guess you just thought, oh, I can't miss this. I can't miss out on this.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's very cool. And as I said, I mean, you had a lot of success. I mean, I saw a photo of you when you were very little, with just surrounded by kart trophies, and having got the bug back to go racing again. When was it that you started looking at maybe progressing up into cars, see if there was any possibility for that? Was there, and I hate to ask this, but was there a financial aspect to it? Because there always is, isn't there?
Yeah, there was a financial aspect. When we went karting, it was sort of, although I was out quite a few weekends, it was always dad and lad sort of thing, pop up tent, and we always rented engines, didn't own any engines, so it was a financial thing. But we were always looking at cars as well because we did want to progress. We didn't really take note of the budget for car racing too much. We were just sort of looking and seeing what it actually was. But yeah, we were always looking to progress, and no matter how. So, oh, hello, are you, are you all right?
Sorry, folks, you've got a bit of a storm blowing through here. Sorry, folks.
No, it's okay. It's okay, Rich.
Yes, sorry, I missed the tail end of that. I mean, obviously, you said you wanted to progress and move up. Just for a timeline sake, we're kind of looking at sort of 2019 sort of time here, aren't we? I guess. Just to, I mean, 2019, obviously things were starting to pick up and start to go well. You're looking to progress, but then 2020, we all know what happened in the world in 2020. Very difficult time. I'm actually quite interested in this because I've spoken to a lot of people who have been in touring cars or another series, and there was that standoff period. We can't go racing. What's it going to mean with hospitality and things like that? Obviously, you weren't at that level. You were still very much not grassroots, but you were you weren't in cars. How did that year affect you? Because there was no racing. I mean, was there some sim work involved just to keep your eye in, or how did it affect guys at your level at that time?
It affected all of us massively because it put a stop on all of the racing really. Um, like you said, the sim has played a massive part in driving, and I think it plays a massive part in every driver, to be honest, because it keeps them sharp over the winter and especially over the COVID. So over the COVID break, that's what I was doing. It actually passed by quicker than I thought because there was in a way you sort of get time to relax as well. But I was still at school that time, so I was just focusing on schoolwork, studying, and then when I've got time, I'd be playing football with my mates. And when the restrictions lifted, of course,
Of
yeah,
course.
and yeah, I would. It went past pretty quickly, but it did put a stop on racing. And then when it sort of lifted and you were allowed to go racing, but wearing a mask, we were trying to race as much as we could, as soon as we could.
Yeah, which I guess was imperative, wasn't it, just to get back out on track and just like get used to the feeling again, because we all got used to a very different way of life, didn't we, as you just alluded to. So yeah, nice to be able to get back racing. So there are a lot of questions coming in already, which I'm going to come to, folks. Don't worry. Questions from Karen Sigsworth is in, Simon Coombs, Bobby T fan club, David Bourne, a few other people like that. We will come to those very, very soon. I just want to say that there's 2 or 3 people are already tipping you for the Jack Sears Trophy, including Drew Crease, who's obviously Michael Crease's brother. So that's nice. You've got plenty of backing, which is lovely. Just before we step away from karting, excuse me, it's getting very expensive, isn't it? Just as all motorsport is, as we know. As I've spoken to, I've had like Terry Fullerton has been on here, who's like the karting man, Ayrton Senna's old rival, and he said that he's very concerned about the cost of karting. I mean, do you think that it's pricing some very talented drivers out of progression? But then again, it's a business, isn't it? So it needs to, it's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is, to be honest. To be completely honest, I think it is. It's only getting more and more expensive. So when we sort of made the jump to cars, it was the price was just skyrocketing. So it's yeah, it's definitely something that I think could be looked at. But yeah, I'd have to agree with you where it's sort of hindering the progression for some other drivers.
Yeah, which is a shame, and that's obviously the case right the way up the ladder, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's you know, I do know someone who's looking at doing British F3, and they're looking at like 1.5 million or more, which is incredibly expensive. And hopefully, there's something that can be done, something like the Road to Indy ladder that they have in the States, maybe might help. No, cool. I don't like talking about money, but we have to sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and just say, but it can be a very good springboard, kind of, because as recently as what 3 years ago, you were still racing in karts, I believe, in the X30s, wasn't it? I think you were still doing that. So there is opportunity to go from karting to where you are now, which is great. So if you are karting, keep at it. Right, moving into cars. It was 2021. Obviously, COVID is finished. Well, not finished, but it's a lot easier than it was back in 2020. You made the step into radicals. I'm just wondering how that came about. Was there someone that you knew in a team, or was it just putting feelers out? How did it all happen?
Yes, so with Radical, we knew someone who worked there at that time. His name was Mark Armstrong, and I came in halfway 3/4 of the year through the 2021 season. 2021 season. So I debuted at Silverstone because of Mark Armstrong. He introduced me to how it all runs, everything that we needed to know, and then he got me on track in no time. Completed my ARDS test at Silverstone with him, and that's how it all came about, really, for Radical.
Fantastic, nice to have. It's nice to know someone on the inside, I guess. It kind of always helps. I have just seen a very quick question here, which I think might be correct, from Kelvin Sigsworth. Hello, Kelvin. It says, didn't you kart with the likes of Ollie Behrman?
I did, yes.
Really?
I was never teammates with him, but I used to race him through the ranks, so through Honda Cadet, Junior X30, and then a few times in Senior X30, because I think he progressed as well. He did a few races in Senior X30, then progressed to F4 it was, and then obviously now to F1. So he's doing very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure if Ollie will see this or anyone who knows him, but if they do, we all wish him well for his full debut year. Very much looking forward to seeing him out on track. Andy Bailey comment there about favourite drivers when you were young. We will come to that. Do not worry. So yeah, that Silverstone weekend. Did you have any expectations, or I guess hopes are different to expectations, aren't they? But I mean, did you have any expectations going into that first weekend of car racing at Silverstone? And how did you take to the Radical? Because it feels like one of those cars that would be not an easy step, but slightly easier than if you were going into like a junior saloon car, something like that.
So expectations going into that weekend, I didn't really have many expectations. I was more sort of nervous than anything because it's a big track, Silverstone GP, especially for my first time racing. There's a lot to learn, as well as learning the car as well. I did manage to get one test day in before the race weekend, which was actually at Silverstone, so that did actually help massively, that one test day. But in terms of adapting to the car, with the Radical, it's completely different to a go-kart. I mean, with the acceleration from a car, because you're so low to the ground and you accelerate really quickly, it sort of blows your mind. But then in the Radical, the acceleration just keeps going. It's really quick. So it was that sort of element. It's like when you're driving, it's like a progressive overload sort of thing when you're driving. So there's a lot to take in. But the main things was the adaptability of it. So braking, the weight transfer, being smooth to sort of use the suspension of the car, the aero as well. So jumping off the brake and rolling speed through the corner to sort of get that aero in. Yeah, there was quite a few things that was sort of to learn. But yeah, I sort of transitioned into it quite smoothly, and I think I did pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I love hearing about that. You know, the things that you're learning as you're like thumping around a track and trying to be as quick as you can and take as much in. For non-racers, there's a lot more than just driving, isn't there? Far, far more. You said that you think you did quite well. I mean, you took like the Rookie Cup wins across the 3 races of that weekend. You then went to Donington, and correct if I'm wrong, you got an outright race win in your 5th race, 4th, 5th race, something like that. That is taking to it pretty well.
Yeah, it's I think I was a lot more confident in going into Donington because I had a race under my belt. But yeah, it was a pretty good weekend at Donington to get my first ever car win. I was over the moon with it, and it was a really good feeling crossing the line.
Yeah, absolutely. That first win in anything, isn't it? Whether it's in karts or then in cars or in a series, it must give you that confidence boost. I mean, obviously you had confidence in yourself because you were able to win the race, but did it really make you think, I can definitely do this car racing, Larg?
Yeah, it definitely gave me the confidence. I think when you hadn't driven a car before, you always sort of have doubts, and you don't really know what to expect. But after I had the race weekend at Silverstone and especially Donington, I sort of was pretty confident, and yeah, I was pretty confident.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. So the following year, you joined the series full time. Was there any, and again, coming back to the sponsorship thing, was there any extra kind of like backing that needed to be found at that point, or was it not fully funded because there's no such thing? But I mean, was it? Did you get some help along the way? I guess for the full time drive.
Yeah, we did get some help. It was yeah, so through the karting days it wasn't we were all right. I mean, money was tight, but you know, everyone knows going into car racing the budget increases. So we needed to do something really. So I was always looking for sponsors, and the main thing that really changed it was my dad actually. He went to the company that he worked with and sort of said, "Do you want to help Daryl out here?" And thankfully, and I'm very grateful for, they did. So they've been sponsoring me since the Radicals in car racing, and they still sponsor me now. So very thankful to them.
Oh, that's fantastic, and I bet they're glad that they said yes at that point. Which is no, that's fantastic. Obviously, you can't get anywhere without without help and backing.
Yeah.
In this game, I just had a quick look at the calendar that you had. You raced at Donington twice, Brands, Snetterton. You had a triple header at Silverstone and a double header at Alton Park. Had you'd obviously raced at some of those circuits before, but had you raced at sort of Snetterton, Brands, and Alton before that season?
No, I hadn't.
Wow.
I did so how I did it is I did a lot of sim work to prepare for those tracks. I like iRacing. iRacing is very good because it's laser scan tracks, and also I don't know how they do it with the coding of the game or anything, but the cars in the game really feel like how they do in real life. So
Right.
I've done a lot of laps on the sim. So that massively benefited. And if we could manage to get a track day or something like that before the round, we would go and do it. So it was good track time. It wasn't any proper testing. It was just sort of get your eye in for the track, get a feel for the radical, and sort of dial in for the weekend, let's say.
Yeah, fantastic. I love that. I mean, because I'm of an age where I can't get sim racing out of that thing in my brain that says it's computer games because I'm a bit older and I can't. But it really isn't, is it? I mean, it's so realistic, and the sim rigs you can get now, it is almost like being out on track, and that's become a huge part of driver training and, as you said, learning circuits. What I did see is that you actually won at every circuit that year, which is pretty good given that you hadn't driven 3 of them. I've got here you took 6 wins from 13 races to win the SR1 Cup. Did you see that coming? Because it's a fantastic thing to have for your first full season.
Yeah, it was a pretty good year with Valor and the whole team. They gave me a really good package underneath me. So yeah, they gave me the best opportunity, and I think it was a strong season. We were going into the last round sort of 50 odd points ahead. So we were pretty confident, and it meant that I had to win in race one or get a podium or something like that. But in race one at Donington, the last ever round of the season, unfortunately I DNF'd the second one of the season because yeah, I DNF'd. So I unfortunately didn't score any points, and my championship rival at that time, he won the race. So it was definitely not the race one we wanted for at the last round. But all it meant is that I had to, have a lot of pressure for the next race and to not fumble. So yeah, it was a very tense race. My family were very tense. I was very tense, but I sort of, went into the race. The guys got the car, the guys and girls at Valor got the car fixed as soon as possible, taping it up and making sure it was ready for race two. And then luckily we were fast enough to score a good enough result, P3 or P2 it was, to win the championship. So that was a very relieving moment for me. That was.
Yeah, I'm sure, especially after race one and what had happened. And I guess when that kind of thing happens on a championship deciding weekend, for one better phrase, obviously you're delighted to have won the championship. But when it happens in that way, there's got to be a bit of relief in there as well, because you must think that could have gone a different way.
Yeah.
No, terrific. So you won the R1 Cup that year, obviously terrific success. I saw that you went out to Nevada, wasn't it? You're out just the other side of the mountain from Las Vegas for for the World Finals, wasn't it? I'd seen previously you'd raced, was it Portimao as well? You'd been to before, but going out to the States, that's a whole different ball game, isn't it? You must have been so excited going out there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's definitely a first experience for me, Vegas, and also the track as well, because the track was sort of. It wasn't the F1 style street circuit. It was sort of an hour into the desert, so it was very
Yeah.
windy, very sandy. There was not much runoff and not much room for error. So it was a new experience for me, and I learned a lot from it. But it was an amazing time. It was one of the best weeks of my life, I'd say.
Oh yeah, I'll bet. I've actually got here. It was was it the Spring Mountain Motorsports Ranch, which just sounds lovely. It sounds so nice. It sounds like a motorsport retreat, which is never a bad thing. You were in the SR10 machine, weren't you? Which is obviously more powerful. Obviously, just going back to the story from moving up in karts, you obviously loved the extra speed and everything of it. Was it the same when you got into the Radical, or was it a bit of a wow?
So yeah, so for the SR10, it was with the Radicals, all the models look pretty similar, to be honest. The main difference with the SR10 is that it's turbocharged, so it's you can really feel when you put the power down. Yeah, the main difference was my neck. My neck was killing that week as well, because it was a few days testing, and then it was the race weekend as well. So it was yeah, it was definitely a new experience, and it was the first time I've actually put my foot down on a vehicle and my neck goes really back into the seat. So yeah, it was definitely a very powerful car, and especially with all the wind as well. It was a new experience for me.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some of the footage of it, and it did look very windy, and the track was quite undulating. From yeah, had a few ups and downs to it, which obviously adds to the challenge. Excuse me. You were I did hear on the commentary for it actually that you were racing against some guys who had been in the American Le Mans series, things like that, which is a very 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 decent series. Again, you obviously want to win, you want to be competitive, but did you think you would go as well as you did?
No, to be honest. I think I was pretty confident after the SR1 championship here in the UK, but I really didn't know what to expect going out to another sort of, well, the other side of the world really to compete. A new car again, and a new track. it was definitely tough, and especially with, like you said, the sort of driver caliper in the World Finals. There was IndyCar drivers now. There was Lamborghini factory drivers and ALMS drivers as well. So there was definitely, the driver level was really high. Although it was split into different classes, 3 different classes, it was certainly it wasn't a walk in the park, let's say.
No, absolutely. However, you came away winning, which again, that's got to be a huge shot in the arm, and it makes a long flight home a lot happier, I guess, doesn't it? You must have been over the moon with that.
Yeah, it's. I remember that when I actually crossed the line, when he was doing the double wave checkered flags, and I just couldn't believe it. My team came down the radio and was screaming, and it was so emotion. That day was filled with emotion. So it was a long race as well. It was a 45-minute race, so I had to keep focus. But yeah, very very happy that I managed to win that one. So
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. And obviously, this is 2022, a year that you also did a one-off round in the GB4 Championship, again at Donington, wasn't it? Again, because that was with the same team that you were with in the Radicals. How did all that come about? Because again, it feels like a more natural shift to go to the single seaters from a Radical. How did it all happen?
So the team that I was racing with, Valor Racing, they also wanted to run a few cars in the GB4 Championship. I was actually running with my mechanic, Danny Harrison, he was very quick at the time as well. So me and him, we debuted and did the one-off appearance in the GB4 Championship with Valor in the GB4 cars. I think it was, well, I think the team just wanted to sort of see what the championship was like. It was very impressive. They wanted to run single seaters. Reece Terry has got F2 experience, so he wanted to dive into that again, I think. And yeah, that's how that all came about. Really, I was the driver for Radical that time, and they sort of presented the opportunity, and yeah, very glad that I went and did it. So
Yeah, fantastic. And you went and did it very well. Was it your very first race? You went and stuck it on the podium. Easy stuff. Um, again, little things like that. Your first, I guess, open wheel single seater car race, and you put it on the podium. Again, that's another shot in the arm and another thought of maybe I could go down this route, perhaps.
yeah, I think with single seaters, it was definitely good to get some experience under my belt. Um, yeah, it was another learning experience. Very happy we did it, and yeah, I think it was something that single seaters we've always sort of considered because the dream would be F1, and I think a lot of drivers would love to be competing and racing in F1, but there's a whole sort of route to that with finances, politics, and that sort of thing. So we mainly focused on sort of the cars with roofs. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, everyone as a kid when they're young and they want to be an F1 driver, and that kind of avenue closes very, very quickly, doesn't it? Because there's so many people wanting to do it, and so many people have got different budgets and all that kind of thing. So, I mean, I guess it feels like a good move to go down the like tin top GT touring car kind of route. It was 2023, wasn't it? You entered the Team Hard scholarship. Obviously, Team Hard very sadly no more, but they gave you a real springboard into motorsport, didn't you? Was it just a case of applying for the scholarship and just seeing what happened thereafter?
Yeah, it was the case of applying. It was actually a 2-day process. So the first day was held at Blyton Park, and there was I can't even remember the number now, to be honest, but it was definitely in 3 digits. I think it might have been 300 drivers.
Wow.
So it was sort of, they did it across 5 days up to a week maybe. And I was on one of the days, and it was pretty much a day where they assessed your driving, your media, and your fitness. So after that day, it was we were waiting to hear from the team again, and then it was through to the finals day at Brands Hatch. So that's what the process was like for the scholarship. Yeah, I was very happy I've competed in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, I mean, what cars did you get behind the wheel of? Because I've seen a lot of different scholarships. So I spoke to the winner of like Formula Woman, who's done all kinds of different things. What cars were you taking the wheel of on the Team Hard scholarship?
It was Golfs, Clios. It was sort of front wheel drive cars, H pattern gearbox, those type of cars. Yeah, it was very good. It was very good. I really enjoyed the experience.
Great stuff. Great stuff. And you were like selected as the winner, which helps. That must have felt like, I guess, a big step forward just in your career, because you knew you were going to get a drive in the British Endurance Championship. You're going to be backed by the team as well, which, as we discussed, we need all the help we can get, don't we?
Yeah, it was yeah, winning that scholarship, it was yeah, it's sort of like you said, springboarded my career into car racing. It gave me the opportunity to race in the British Endurance Championship, and I'd even say it's got me where I am today. So I'm very thankful to compete in the scholarship, and I'm very glad I did.
Yeah, fantastic. And it actually set the ball rolling for what was a very busy 2023 from what I could see. Obviously, you've done well in the UK, excuse me, in the UK and in the USA in radicals. You've won the scholarship. You also went back to radicals again, didn't you, for that season? And again, surprise, surprise, won the championship. I saw that you got 11 podiums in 12 races, 4 wins, just solid throughout. I guess on the back of the scholarship as well, you must have felt like things were really starting to pick up for you.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, it's all been a sort of a new experience for me. So, looking back, doing the radicals, the single seater round, it was all new learning, and then the scholarship to race in the British Endurance Championship as well. That was learning as well because it was with a partner and it was endurance races. So there was different. It was a different approach to races. It sort of wasn't just go as fast as you can, as hard as you can. It was sort of preserve the brakes, preserve the tires, and sort of think differently, work with your engineer, and you got a long race ahead of you. So it was all learning. It was a different style of racing, the British Endurance Championship, but it was 2023 was a good year, I think, because I also debuted in the British Touring Car Championship that year.
Yeah, absolutely, which I'm going to come to in just a moment. And it's just a really interesting point you said about that, because you were doing 2 very different styles of racing in 2 very different types of cars. So you must have absorbed a heck of a lot. As I mentioned in the intro, I've spoken to a lot of people who have done like world sports car or world endurance championship as it is now. And some people say that they're just more suited to being able to be in the car for 2 hours, just pumping in laps and just getting into a groove and trying to improve on bits of the lap, which you don't get in the short, punchy world of radicals and touring cars. That and you were doing that in first an Audi A3 and then a Porsche 911, which are 2 very different cars in themselves. So you basically drove 3 very different cars in 2 very different styles of racing. I mean, was there one that you were thinking, I prefer one over the other, or can I not ask
that? No, I think I enjoy anything when I'm behind the wheel. Every car has different sort of disciplines. A Porsche is rear-wheel drive, and you have to be very, let's say, careful on the throttle, because if you give it loads of steering lock and you give it loads of power, then it's just going to swap ends on you. Whereas a sort of front-wheel drive touring car, the Audi S3 that I drove, you sort of pick up power and to get the diff to kick in and to pull it around the corner. So there's a few different driving styles between the 2 cars, very different. Preference wise, I really couldn't say, because I mean I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy sort of adapting to the cars. And yeah, anytime I'm behind the wheel, I'm just loving life. So yeah, couldn't give you a preference.
Perfect answer. Love that. But as you say, it's just a huge learning curve, learning different styles of racing, and to do it all in the same season, and to have some success doing it. I saw you particularly good in qualifying. You had some good results. You had some podiums in the Porsche as well. So, that plus radicals, plus the Audi, plus everything else, it was all starting to take shape. You mentioned the BTCC. Obviously, there was an issue at another team that saw Jade Edwards step out of Team Hard, the Cupra, and into said team. When did you find out that you were, well, because you'd done some testing, hadn't you? Some tyre testing in the Cupra. When did you find out that you were being considered for the rest of the BTCC season?
So the tyre test that we done on the 2023, that was also part of the scholarship as well. So we were sort of going to that day to sort of just drive a current BTCC car. No expectations, sort of see how I get on. And then it was we were just getting on with the 2023 season, and then we sort of got a text message saying that there's an opportunity to debut in it. Do you want to go for it? So that message. Where were we? I think we were at a hotel somewhere, an awards night or something like that, maybe. But me and my dad were just we were so shocked, and we couldn't believe that the opportunity actually came up. So we did everything that we could to make it happen, and we raced for the last 5 rounds of the 2023 season, starting at Croft and then ending at Brands GP. So
yeah, wow, it was very cool, and I think a lot of people were very positive on the fact that obviously you were the scholarship winner, and they'd almost they'd like promoted from within, so to speak, rather than say, oh, who else is out there, who can we get in, which I think reflected very well on the team and obviously on you as well. Just while we're talking about the BTCC, I've got to say hello to Kevin Whitewood. He's the man behind British Touring Car Chat. Evening, Kev. He said the fan base has been extremely positive on your move to WSR. A good move for you. And he says he is sure you'll be a strong front runner in 2025. Hear, hear. Voter confidence, which is great. Just on the Cupra, which we're talking about, our friend Diffan, from the deepest, darkest depths of Wales. Evening, Diffan. He's just asked, was there much difference between the Audi, which I think you only had for one race or one round, and the Cupra? Because they're kind of both, because the Audi's leaning more towards touring car than the Porsches, I guess.
Yeah, there was a difference. I mean, not that big of a difference actually, to be honest. But there was a difference in terms of it's a different car. But when being sat in it, actually, it was. I mean, it was pretty similar with the dashboard and the sequential shifter and the processes of obviously going through the different maps and the steering wheel to get the cool down map. That was all similar, and that actually prepared me very well, I think, for when I debuted in the touring cars and also the tyre test day. But I'd say the biggest difference was that I couldn't even tell you. I think the Cupra is right hand drive and the Audi's left, so that's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, see, that's the bit I'd always struggle with, honestly. It's bad enough when you get a hire car abroad. I keep hitting the door, changing gear. I don't know how you guys switch from one to the other. Well, it's because you're very, very talented drivers, of course. Excuse me. So yeah, you mentioned your debut at Croft. I don't think you'd raced there before, had you? I don't think. It's a tricky circuit, fast, deceptively tricky from what I can gather. What was it like being, I think, a new circuit and being in the hustle and bustle of a BTCC weekend for the first time? Because it is crazy, isn't it? Yeah,
Croft. I'd never actually been to the track before. I think I'd done one test day, maybe track day before, maybe. But it was definitely a difficult weekend. It's quite a not forgiving track, so you have to be so on the limit and so concentrated throughout the lap. But yeah, it was all good fun debuting in the series. It was all good fun, and it was definitely good to get some BTCC races in my CV.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've asked it to a few people who, when making their debut in the BTCC, we all know it's very hectic and elbows out and frantic. And how did you feel sitting on the grid? Just lining up on the grid for the first time racing. Your first racing lap was in the BTCC around that circuit. What are you thinking? Because I remember speaking to Matt Neal, and Matt Neal's done everything. But when he was young, he said he raced in a he raced alongside his dad at Snetterton, and he had his foot pinned to the floor going down the straight at Snetterton, and his leg and his whole foot were twitching because he was so nervous. I mean, how did you feel on that first ever grid?
I think it's natural for anyone to have nerves. It's part of human nature. But when I was actually on the grid, I was making sure everything was right. So making sure the prop valve was in the right position, making sure it's in gear, it's the brakes engaged, the line lock's engaged, and you're hitting the right amount of clutch pressure as well. Because on the dash, sometimes this year, to be honest, I've done it manually, so I done it off feel. But in 2023, I had the start page for the dash, so you'd have the clutch pressure, which would be optimal, and then you had the brake pressure. To be honest, the brake pressure was just as hard as you can hit the pedal until you line lock it, and then the throttle position as well, which that also had an optimal position. So you had to sort of it was quite a lot because you had to focus on the lights as well when you start picking up the engine notes. And then it was also making sure the lights were on, making sure all your inputs were optimal on the dash, and then looking up, and then as soon as the lights go out, coming off that brake button. So that was what was going through my head. Instead of nerves, it was sort of, is everything in the right place? And then making sure I get a good getaway, because sometimes you can wheel spin too much, or you could bog down. So there's a lot of things actually to getting a good race start. So that was what was going through my head on my first ever race start at Croft.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, there was another driver who mentioned some of the pre-start, about some of the grid rituals and stuff, and it's an astonishing amount of stuff you have to do. I mean, I think those who haven't looked into it might think, oh, it's just get your boot down and off you go, which couldn't be further from the truth. But that's amazing. And that first racing lap, I mean, obviously, I guess you just wanted to get round, stay out of trouble, and not end up in some nasty, rattly, gravelly stuff. And those first 2-3 corners at Croft are always quite hectic. Bollards go flying, and Tim Harvey shouts about tyre stacks and things like that. Did you ever have just a split second where you thought, this is nuts? What is going on here?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I think your sort of adrenaline's more rushing through you rather than sort of, this is crazy. You're sort of thinking what gap to put your car in, but I think it's the reason why BTCC is so popular. It's why everyone's so interested, because it's those sort of moments where the fans love it, and the drivers do too. I will have to admit, it's such a good feeling, a race start, and also, I mean, the whole weekend of the BTCC, actually, when it comes to the opening stages of a race and the closing stages of the race, and the podium celebrations after, it's just all, it's all what we love doing. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's fantastic that the fans can get to the podium as well and get covered in sticky champagne and things like that, which is lovely. And that weekend you got to the end of all 3 races, which I guess was job one. And I did see there were a couple of like retirements in the next couple of rounds, which must have been frustrating when you're trying to get a bit of momentum. But that happens, doesn't it? Especially in the BTCC with things. But in just your 10th race at Silverstone, you got points. You took points in just your 10th race, which that must have felt great, because obviously 2023 it was a pretty big grid, and to get into that top 15 must have felt fantastic.
Yeah, it was a really good feeling. Like you said, it was a difficult sort of debuting half season, let's say, because reliability issues, that sort of thing. But at Silverstone, when crossed the line and got points, it was a sort of relief. Shall I say, sort of, I belong here sort of feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a difficult race because it was mixed conditions as well. So making sure you don't burn your tire. There's a whole lot of elements you had to keep thinking about. But it was a tough race, but happy to cross the line in 14th. I think Tom Chilton actually got me on the line that race as well. I remember pressing on my hybrid, looking down, saying, "You've got none left," and I was like, "No, going through the gears, no." And then he got me on the line. So it was 14th, but yeah, still really happy to come away with points. Yeah, very happy.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, Tom, that isn't fair. Come on now.
Yeah,
Come
come on.
He's been doing it for years, Tom. You don't need to do that. No, nobody wants to get gifted points. Not ideally, anyway. But again, I mean, it was mighty impressive seeing you, in the points, and you did it again at Brands Hatch as well, which was 12th, wasn't it? Which was the best, yeah. And obviously, with all eyes on the championship battle, as there always is at Brands Hatch, I think a lot of people sort of sat up and took notice of you when you took that 12th, because I think that was the year that Tom, that Tom won it, wasn't it? I think he did it with the race to spare, or it was late in the race, and it was pretty clear that he was going to be champion. And I think other people were just looking around the grid and seeing who else was doing what, and you came thumping across the line in 12th, and a lot of people around me were saying, "Wow, crikey," and sort of and like mentioning you, and I guess did that just cement the thought in your mind that yes, maybe this is where I do belong?
Yeah, it was the last race of the season. I remember it very well. In 2023, it was a hectic race. There was a lot going on, just like any other BTCC race, to be honest. But it was a good way to end the year, having my personal best finish in the British touring cars. But yeah, it was sort of a really good way to end the year, and a very exciting one too, because sort of when everyone gets together and celebrates the newly crowned champion, to end the season on a good result, I think was definitely the way I wanted it to end.
Yeah, nice end for you, and a nice way to go into the winter, of course, and into the off season, and all the thrashing around and sponsorship and all that stuff that happens in the off season. It's nice to do it on the back of a good result. Just before we jump into 2023, I did see a couple of questions. One from Hoppers, Andy Hopley. Hello, mate. He says Croft is mega. It's only an hour and a half away from him. Yeah, but everything's an hour and a half away from you, Andy, because he lives in Kendal. He lives in the middle of the Lake District. The nearest shop's an hour away. But he said, I guess it depends what kind of car you have. Obviously, there's left-hand drive, right-hand drive. Do you have a preference? Because I think we're all used to driving right-hand cars. Andy's like me; he's left-handed, so it might that's why we're a bit wonky. But have you got a preference, or do you just get in and just take whatever it is?
I don't really have a preference, to be honest. I think within a few laps, you sort of understand how wide the car is and where it needs to be on track. So I think I think there's not really any sort of preference to that. If you ask me what I'd prefer to drive, I couldn't give you an answer. So I don't think there's any preference to that.
Sign of a proper racer right there, which is great. And I did see an interesting one from Lisa Reinhardt. This is a good question. Do you have a pre-race ritual? We like that.
Pre-race ritual. I don't, to be honest. As long as I've been to the toilet and make sure that sort of business is done, and I'm not running late, then that's my pre-race ritual, to make sure I'm not running late and I've been to the toilet.
No, fair enough. So I'm like, there's nothing like, I've got to, I don't know, tap the roof of the car 3 times or put my left glove on first or anything like that. You're just in and ready to go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, the questions are flying in. Just give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to catch up here. That's fine. That's good. Oh my word. Oh, Hopper says thank you for the answer.
No worries. That's okay.
Great stuff. And okay, we've got a couple more which I'm going to go through, talking about fuel and things, which leads us nicely into 2023. Right, I'm obviously very sadly Team Hard went pop over the winter period, or ceased trading, or whatever happened there. That's kind of a blow. But I guess, were you looking at well, I mean, had you been looking at a return to Team Hard, or were you just looking to see where the opportunities might be and what you could bring together? Were there options on the table?
Yeah, I would say I was looking to return, because they gave me the opportunity to debut and sort of make my name in touring cars. But it was tough. It was tough. Again through winter, for the winter season, you sort of see what drives are available, and look at different championships. other series, other teams in BTCC. So it was tough to see them to see Team Hard go, but I mean, if, on a reflection, they've given myself and plenty other drivers the chance to be in touring cars. So it's definitely, I'm definitely thankful to them for that, and I think a lot of drivers really appreciate what they've done for the championship.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I was looking through a couple of years ago, and I think you could look at like a dozen drivers on the BTCC grid who had been in a Team Hard car, or they'd raced for them in the like lower series, I guess. But you ended up at a new team, Unlimited Motorsport, and they kind of like came out of nowhere. I think for the BTCC fans, were saying, "Oh, there was so much sort of like hubbub around Team Hard," and then all of a sudden, Unlimited Motorsport, Duckham's, Cupra, the car looks the business, and Daryl DeLeon is in a one-car team. How did all that come about? Because I've spoken with Unlimited in the last few weeks, and obviously they're expanding a bit as well. But how did it all come to be?
So it was all very last minute with Unlimited making their debut in the BTCC. I think it's honestly a mega story, really really good, because it was Friday night, where they were finishing the wrap on the car. So when it got rolled out on Saturday morning at round one at Donington was the first time I've seen the car as well. So I think it definitely shocked a lot of people, myself included, because of how stunning the Duckham's livery looked.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was just all very, very last minute, to be honest, with that. And throughout the year, we sort of kept on improving. But yeah, I think this year has been a really good year for not only for myself but also for the team. And yeah, I mean, best of luck to them. They're only going to get quicker. So
Yeah, absolutely. And people would have seen they've got a very talented young driver who's just stepped into the side as well. I must admit, I'm going to hold my hand up here. I was at media day and I had a quick peek in the back of the garage, and the pessimist in me came rushing to the surface, and I said, "There's no way that car is going to be on the grid for round one." So for them to get you in and to get the car ready and get you on the grid was an almighty effort from what I could see anyway. Yeah, it was properly impressive. Was it difficult though being in a single car entry? Because as we know, there's like shared data and shared information and things like that. Your first full season in the BTCC, you're a single car entry. You've got no one to sort of bounce things off. It's just you in a new team. That is a daunting prospect for anyone. But you took to it so well.
thank you. I think there definitely is pros and cons to running a one car team. The pros being that you're the only driver that the team focuses on, so you sort of get that attention to detail. And the cons being, of course, you don't have any sort of other data, don't have any other teammates to bounce ideas off, or you're just sort of, yeah, you're going by yourself really. You're comparing your own data in FP1 to FP2. It's sort of trying a few different things with the setup based on my feedback. And whereas when you had if you have a teammate and you can sort of compare different parts for the setup wise, so you sort of progress quicker with a teammate and also with data and that side of things. But yeah, I think it was difficult at times, very difficult at times, but it was sort of nice to be a one car team, because to have that sort of support around you, and it really did feel like a family atmosphere at Unlimited. So that was the nice element to it.
That's lovely. That is lovely. And I popped into the garage at Silverstone to speak with the media guy who I know you'll know. And it was like a real close knit kind of team, and everyone was just working. It just felt like everyone was working for each other, which is lovely to see, which is often lost in in like certain teams and certain series. And in that situation, obviously single car and all that kind of thing, the car was just being wrapped the night before, and you went out and took 13th. I think it was in the first round. I mean, okay, it was wet and horrible, and everyone did a brilliant job to even get the circuit ready to race on and things like that. With the last minute nature of how it all came together, your kind of first, the start of your first full season, the weather, the delay. To go 13th was a monumental achievement. I thought that was properly impressive. I mean, the whole team must have been chuffed to bits with that.
Yeah, I remember coming into the pits and seeing the whole team clapping. I wasn't actually sure why. This was for qualifying, by the way, because I didn't have a radio in the car, so I didn't know what was going on. That was sort of when, although it was sort of late to start in the series, we sort of hit the ground running because we qualified ninth overall, and that was a really good result for me and the team. And I didn't really know what was going on. Qualified ninth, we're really happy with that. And then race one started ninth and finished 13th. By then we were still sorting out a few things with the car, but it was a really good sort of debuting round, Donington. I was very happy with my results. The team were very happy. I mean, but like you said, when you popped your head into the garage, everyone was working as hard as they can, putting 100% effort in. We were all working as a team, all working to make the dream still happen. And yeah, it was a really nice feeling to finish race one, the first race of the season, because all that hard work and all that sort of you could say stress, because it was quite last minute. It was really nice to pay off, because it's to finish 13th with little preparation in the championship, and to have the speed, it was good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those things that kind of went under the radar with all the excitement around who's won the first race and all that kind of a thing. It kind of went under the radar until a few days afterwards, when someone pointed out. I think it might have been Alan Hyde actually pointed it out on his Tin Top Tuesday, and he said, "Why is no one talking about this result?" Because it was absolutely tremendous. And you backed it up with, was it 15th in the second race, and then there was 14th at Brands, and then there was Snetterton again. It threw it down, and everyone got a bit drowned. But to me, that was the weekend that I thought everyone needs to start watching this lad, because it was a fantastic weekend. I mean, you took 10th and 12th on a tricky weekend. Your first time in the top 10. You must look back at that weekend and think that was pretty good.
Thank you. It was a good race at Snetterton. Well, a good weekend overall, to be honest. Yeah, like you said, it poured down with rain, so that was another difficult thing. Because qualifying, it was mixed conditions, and then in the races it rained. The weather wasn't really consistent, so it was quite difficult with where to go setup wise and that sort of thing. But luckily in race one, it felt pretty good. Finished 10th, and yeah, I was really happy with that, because it was sort of, again, showing the progression.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on that progression, I mean, did you start to think, maybe not expecting points finishes, but must have been thinking, yeah, we can really challenge the top 10 here. And I guess the expectation, even in such a young team and in such a small team, meant in the nicest possible way, of course. Did the expectation just go up a little bit around that point?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the more races you are in the championship, the more confident you are. It's such a tough series. It's so close. So some races you can have that are really good and you really enjoy and you're really quick. Some races it just doesn't go your way really, which is very important to sort of, well, in the touring cars, for me, I say everything has to go the right way in order for it to be strong, be a strong package. Whereas another thing we struggled with this year is, like you said, being a one car team, it was sort of hard to sort of get the setup in the right window at times, as well as developing the car on the weekend by myself. So it would take sort of a few sessions, a few races to get it in the window. But when the car is in the window, when it's all quick, all strong, it's a good feeling, and it was a good feeling to cross the line in P10 for the team.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's the thing. I mean, sometimes, you just can't get the car in the right window, and you have to maybe accept that it ain't going to be great today, but we can go again next time. Which you did. Went even better at Donington, 9th. Again, fantastic. Your first sort of single-digit result, as it were. Just another milestone and another little bit of progress there at a circuit that you tend to do well at as well.
Yeah, it was. It was good. It was good. I think the just the touring cars in general, you really don't know how the races are going to go and how how well you're going to go. So I think just any sort of good result in touring cars is always rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we get into the final round of last year, which was again superb. I saw that you took points at Alton Park and Croft and Knock Hill. Knock Hill, crazy. Absolutely love the place. A brilliant circuit with some really good people up there, and it was warm, which was weird. Just quickly on Knock Hill, there is that photo, which to me is that, and with Jake standing on the roof at the end of the winning the championship, you up on two wheels, almost scraping the door handle on the tarmac, is one of the photos of 2023. Obviously, perhaps not ideal, but that's got to feel fun, hasn't it? Thumping over the curve at Knock Hill.
Yeah, it was. You could say fun. It was more sort of Daryl, please don't roll this. Please
Try
don't
and get
roll
it.
this. Yeah, it was. It was during a quali lap, and you can either through that corner take no curb, or you can be really committed. And that lap, I was very committed. It was up on two wheels, and it was genuinely on the verge to tipping over.
Really,
I remember hitting the curb, landing, and then thinking I can't stay on power and I can't keep turning, otherwise it will roll. So I remember having to sort of straighten the wheel and sort of modulate the power to like sort of try settle it down. And then once it settled down, I was off in the gravel trap anyway, so my lap was ruined. But
yeah.
yeah, it was a good moment. It was definitely a breathtaking moment, and yeah, it, yeah. Whoever got the photo of that was done a good job, because it was at quite an angle.
Yeah, absolutely. It was amazing, absolutely amazing, and definitely one of the. Yeah, it was one of my favourite
Hello.
photos. Yeah, all good. No, it was definitely one of my photos of the year. Oh, hello. This is the thing. See, live streaming. It's all good. Bear with us, folks. I'm going to press the button here, and we are back. There we
Oh,
go.
we're back. Apologies for that. I keep disconnecting. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Absolutely no problem. No problem at all. This is the fun of doing it live. You see. Much more fun. Just quickly before we get to the final round, we mentioned Alton Park. A comment from Tracy Hickley. Evening, Tracy. She said that it was awesome meeting you at Alton Park this year. Do you still dislike trees at a track? That's
Do I still
that feels like
dislike trees?
that feels like a conversation that was had. She may remember you saying you don't like trees at a track. Who knows? But yeah, Tracy, if you're in the comments, if you can elaborate on that, that'd be cool. Thank you. We have to say hello to Michael Creasy, who's just tuned in. Evening, Creasy. He just said this kid is the real deal, and they're a lovely family as well. So very nice.
Thank you, Chrissy. That's nice. That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
He really made me feel at home when I first started in the series, and I really appreciate him for that. And I wish he's back for 2025.
Yeah, I mean, we'd all love to see Creasy back in the BTCC, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Back in 2025, or in any series, because because motorsport needs characters, and he's definitely one. He has actually said, "Who is the best teammate you've had so far?" Just saying, because I was his in 2023. Just say
Yeah.
Creasy.
Yeah. Creasy. I think. I'd say Creasy.
Yeah. See, everyone says that. See, well, it's just because he's just the kind of bloke you want around your team, isn't he? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, jokes aside, it was actually really nice for him to sort of talk to me throughout the weekend, because it can be quite nerve-wracking. But he really lifted the spirit. He really put a smile on my face, and it was nice to have around. So he was a good teammate.
That's great. That's lovely to hear. And he has just said, fingers crossed, we'll find out in January. There we are. There we go. So yeah, Creasy, fingers crossed for you, mate. And you said that is the right answer as well. Tracy's just back saying Daryl told us he didn't like trees because it was so sunny and then dark under the trees. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think it's quite distracting, really. I mean,
yeah.
Not just trees, but anything in general, really. Especially with the sun, if it's sort of glaring down at you, and then all of a sudden it stops and then comes again, it can be quite off-putting. So Yeah. Probably at that moment, I probably wish there wasn't any trees, but then
Yeah.
I also do want to breathe. So
Yeah, absolutely right. But I guess if we don't like sunshine and shadows, then we're racing in the right country, aren't we? Um, but yeah, just quickly on that, on this last season that's just gone, the final round of 2024. Again, all the eyes were on Jake and Tom and all that was going on at the front. Everyone's forgotten that Ash had shot off up the road and it was very, very quick. But for me, apart from the title story as it all unfolded with your new teammate, you were definitely the story of that Sunday in my book, because obviously we'd all seen the progression and people have been starting to take more and more notice of what you were doing and when the car was in the window, as you said. But seventh in race one, earned fully on merit. I mean, okay, there was an incident up at Druids, but none of this like ping pong ball reverse grid pushing you forward. You qualified where you qualified and you finished where you finished. To do something like that in race one must give you a lot of satisfaction.
yeah, it was a really good moment. I think I really enjoyed that race. Well, throughout it, really, it was quite tense at points. Obviously, the race start and coming to the closing stages, but it was a really good moment for me and also the team. To finish seventh on pure pace and performance, it really just shows the progression of the team, the car, myself as well. So it was a relief to cross the line in seventh and sort of reward the team with all the hard work they put in.
Yeah, I mean, and absolutely right. And it was great to see. I mean, I was actually at the back of the pits along the Jim Clark Straight with some of the laser guys, and they were obviously just going mental. And one of them did say, "Was that DeLeon in seventh?" And he actually turned to me. I went, "Yeah," and he went, "Bloody hell!" I mean, he had actually sort of spotted what you were doing, and it was a terrific result. And then backed it up with 13th in race two. I mean, you must have been really happy with the way the season like progressed. I mean, we've touched on it a lot in the last few minutes, but you must have been delighted with how it went in the end.
Yeah, I was very happy with it. On reflection, it was a really good season, progressing round by round, and to finish it with seventh, it was sort of it sort of gave us the validation that we needed really from everything that's gone on behind the scenes, all the hard work that's been put in. I know I say it a lot, but I really can't express how much work has gone on. But yeah, it was a good season, very good to complete my first full year in the touring cars. Learned again every time I hit the track. It was always a learning sort of process. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this year's gone, and I'm very excited for next year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on that, I think you and everyone at Unlimited should be incredibly proud of what you did last year. Because I mean, even from like the non-racers looking in, it was amazing. I mean, from almost not being on the grid for that first race to where it all went and where it ended was absolutely superb. Just quickly from Diffan Evans. Hello, mate. He said, was there much of a difference between the Cooper you drove uh, with Team Hard and with Unlimited Motorsport? Because I know a couple of the Coopers went to restart, didn't they? And then, I mean, was it one of the Team Hard Coopers that you had, or was it a new one?
Yeah, there was not much difference, to be honest. I mean, it was the same car, but I mean, it goes through its sort of winter phase, shall we say. It sort of gets stripped down and rebuilt, so it felt pretty good. But difference wise, there's not much difference because it was sort of the same cars, really.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I mean, yeah, that's good stuff, and it's nice to have a bit of continuity, I guess, even despite the
Yeah.
winter strip out. Okay, on to the coming season. Then I'll just tackle a couple of questions from the comment section as well. I haven't forgotten, folks. I did read an article, 2021. I think it was from 2021, and you said that part of what you need was opportunity, luck, and sponsorship. Um, I don't like the word luck because you make your own in my book. And obviously, you clearly have the ability to, that which overrides everything else. But do you feel that that kind of opportunity, luck, and sponsorship has all kind of come together in joining West Surrey Racing. I mean, arguably the biggest team in the British Touring Car Championship over the last 2 or 3 decades. It just all came together, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, it all came together. I think joining West Surrey in my second year of touring cars and at 19 years old is a massive thing.
Yeah.
The history of the team, it's honestly impressive, and Dick Bennett, he's honestly a legend in the motorsport industry. So yeah, I think it's a massive opportunity, very big opportunity. I'm willing to, well, I'm going to do everything I can to make the most of it, but I would sort of have to agree that it all sort of came together, and yeah, I'm just so glad to get something sorted with them.
I mean, just quickly, I mean, obviously, I know we can't go into details and the ins and the outs of things, and I wouldn't ask anyway. I mean, I said off camera that I expected you to move up through the British Touring Car Championship this season. Again, no disrespect to Unlimited Motorsport because they were terrific, but I thought he's going to have caught the eye of someone, both as sponsors and as a team manager. Hold my hands up. I didn't think you would get this one. Not that you didn't deserve it. I just thought, that wasn't on my radar at all. I mean, telling us as much as you can. I mean, how did it all come together? Because I did hear somewhere that you were, you'd spoken to WSR a couple of times previously. Oh, we've got a freeze. We have frozen, folks. It's all right. We're going to come back soon. The internet always sorts itself out. It's frozen for me. I think it may have frozen at the other end as well. But if you're in the comments, can you just let us know if it has frozen? Thank you. Because it's frozen for me. So yes, this is great. We are just going to wind down, folks. I have seen your comments in the comments section, and I'm going to come to them very shortly once we get a little reconnection here. Daryl, not sure if you can hear me, but if you want to hit refresh, and I'll buzz you back in, we'll all be good. Katie has said it has frozen. Okay, no problem at all. I'm just going to sit here and ramble for a while. How impressive, though, is Daryl? He is amazing. 19 years old head on young shoulders, which is terrific. Right, Daryl has gone. I'm just going to press my little button here and wait for him to come back. Katie Eames, yes, Daryl does look 12. Oh, well, I wouldn't say 12. We'll give him 13. Come on. We'll make him a teenager. Absolutely no problem. Guys, thank you for tuning in. There's over 200 of you tuning in, which is very, very nice. This is the last one before Christmas. But we do have the whole of January is booked up. Every Wednesday in January is booked up, as is the first weekend in February and the last weekend in February. And I've got about 10 others that I'm trying to arrange as well. So plenty of these, and do check the page as well for all the written articles, because I quite like writing them and I'd like you to read them. So that'd be lovely. I'm just going to press this button here so I can see the comments. Bear with me a second. Close that and press this one. It's all very high tech. Let's see. Rich, do you have a WSR cap in your collection? Oh, hang on. Daryl's mum has messaged in. Hello, Laura. The Wi-Fi's cut off. Daryl's mum here. Okay, no problem. We will sit back and Daryl can rejoin at his leisure. We're just winding down anyway. So thank you, Laura, for the update. I appreciate that. Let's see. Will you be live before the year is out? Oh, it'll be back in 2 minutes. Brilliant. Diffan, will you be back before the year is out to talk about the motorsport season? Not before the year is out. I might have one thing coming up between Christmas and New Year, but a general chat we'll probably do, I don't know, first Sunday of the new year. How about that? Sunday night, the 5th or something. Should we do that? Or a Friday the 3rd, something like that. I'll put an event up and we can all have a chat about 2024 and looking forward to 2025. Cheers, Stefan. Good man. Let's have a quick look. What have we got here? Yeah, sorry, Lisa Reinhardt. Rich, do you have a WSR cap in your collection? Perhaps Daryl will sign one for you next year. I can ask, can't I? This collection of caps wasn't a plan. I kind of keep coming by them. Hang on, my little beeper has beeped. Daryl is back.
Am I back? Okay.
You are back.
Yeah, it's really sorry. It just froze to me, and then yeah, I'm sat by the Wi-Fi box right now, and it actually cut out. So really, I really apologise for that. As
No,
it
that's
cut
all
out
right.
as soon as you asked me a question, so
No, that's all right. No,
I'm
it's
back now.
absolutely, as I say, this is the fun of doing things live. Um, your mum did hop on and say that the Wi-Fi had cut out, so that was cool.
Yeah, I started running around the
In a
house and
message.
saying, yeah. So yeah, sorry
That's
about that. I
terrific.
apologise.
And Katie Eames has told your mum to pay the bill on time. No,
Well,
great stuff.
hopefully there's no issues now. So I
No,
really
we'll be fine.
apologise.
We've got about like another 15 minutes or so. I'm sure we'll be fine. See, this is
Perfect.
the fun of doing it live. You don't get this on your pre-recorded ones, do you? Happy days. Yes, great. Right. Yes, where were we? And just basically how the move to WSR came together. Because I think it's fairly common knowledge. It's one of the pricier seats, shall we say? But yeah, how did it all happen? Because it's a fantastic move.
Yeah, it's we were really surprised with actually signing with WSR. I mean, given the history of the team and how how awesome they are, let's just say, because it's such an impressive outfit, really. How it all came about, really, it was actually the Saturday of Brands Hatch, the last round. I was
Oh,
in the toilets doing my pre ritual. Went to the toilet. Yeah, went to the toilet, and then when I sort of came, came out the toilets, I bumped into Dick Bennett. So
wow.
that's how it all came about. That's when I first spoke to him. It was only briefly though, because I was sort of making sure, running late for qualifying. Sorry, you see my cat in the background, but
Love a cat.
that's how it came about, really. That's how when I first spoke to Dick, and after the weekend went by, sort of got in contact again, and visited the factory workshop, and we just started talking, and yeah, it all sort of progressed from there, really.
Fantastic. And I mean, talk about early Christmas presents. I mean, how? I mean, we kind of touched on it off camera, but for everyone else who hasn't heard the chat, I mean, when you signed a deal with the most successful team in the British Touring Car Championship history, who's just won the Drivers' Championship, they've just won the Manufacturers' Championship. You must have been absolutely buzzing when it was signed, and you think, but then you got to sit on it for a little while until it's announced. But you must have been absolutely buzzing.
I was honestly over the moon. It was such an awesome feeling to when I shook Dick's hand. I was very proud. Yeah, I was very proud. I think that's the only word that I could describe it, really. I think it's such a privilege and such a big opportunity to go to someone like me, 19 years old. But like I said before, it's a big opportunity. I'm going to give it my all next year, and yeah, hopefully we can be at the sharp end of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a return to like rear wheel drive machinery as well, which I believe is like you kind of see that as your bread and butter, I guess. So and with the famous kind of BMW launch and all that kind of thing. I mean, I guess going back to something that's relatively familiar, not the BMW, of course, but just the rear wheel drive. That must kind of just give you a bit of confidence going into the season as well, and into the upcoming practice and test sessions.
Yeah, yeah, it was it would be good to get back into a rear wheel drive car. I think it was nice to drive the front wheel drive car, but it would be good also to learn the disciplines of the BMW 3 Series. So I'm looking forward to it, and I really can't wait to get out in the car. It's just unfortunately going to be a long wait until I can, but I'm going to be doing everything I can to prepare and make sure I'm ready for that day when I first hit the track.
Yeah, absolutely. Time to have a nice little Christmas and then really hit it and get onto it in the new year. Just quickly, I mean, it's an exciting time at like WSR anyway. Obviously, Jake, he's got a title to defend. I mean, you're going to be able to learn a lot from him on the other side of the garage partition, I guess. We've got LKQ Euro Car Parts have come on board. And there aren't any other drivers confirmed. I mean, there's obviously a guy who's been there for a while. We hope he's back. But it's just an exciting time, isn't it? Going in and having a young up and coming driver in the in the car as well. Plenty to look forward to.
Yeah, yeah, it's all very exciting. And I really can't wait to get started with the team, to have the whole team around me, the crew around me, and all the knowledge to sort of push and help me develop as a driver. I'm just looking forward to it all. I really can't wait to get started.
Yeah, you can actually see the excitement in your face already, and it's going to be a long couple of months once we're into the new year, but after that, you'll be absolutely flying, I'm sure.
Thank you.
No, which is brilliant. Just quick, I'd seen from like DeLeon Evans, he said, I wonder how many deals are started when you come out of the toilets. Who knows? There could be a few. And someone's actually, Katie Eames has just responded saying there's probably quite a lot. I wonder how many fans are now going to stalk the toilets before a race. If people start crowding around the toilets at the end of a season, we know why.
It was
Great
actually, to add to that story. Actually, it was I was planning to go into the sort of the green box, which was sort of where can I say it was near? It was sort of near the ITV truck and things like that. The green box.
Yes.
Yep. And
Down by Park
I went
Ferme and all
there,
that, yeah.
and there was a queue there. So I thought I can either wait here or I can run to the Brands Hatch toilets. And I ran to the Brands Hatch toilets and then bumped into Dick. And yeah, that sometimes I think, wow, maybe if the toilets weren't busy, then would that have happened? So
Yeah. If you hadn't been so desperate to go to the loo, you never,
yeah.
that's that's fantastic. That is the little nugget of a story that we love. That's great. I love that. Okay, just very quick, just like generally, obviously you're obviously very proud of your like Filipino heritage on your mother's side, isn't it? There's there's a few like Filipino drivers out there at the moment. I mean, obviously we know about Bianca Bustamante, who's out doing F1 Academy and doing very well with McLaren, but there's been like Eduardo Cosateng and like Michelle Bumgarner and people like that. It's kind of good, isn't it? I mean, do you think that you being with someone like West Surrey Racing, despite the time difference and everything, could maybe inspire more racers from that part of the world to to try and get involved and try and make a career out of it, and maybe get some funding in that part of the world for like youngsters in racing? I mean, this could be even bigger than we think it is, couldn't we?
Yeah, I think it could definitely inspire some people from the Philippines to sort of get into their motorsport if they're really passionate about it. It's nice to see a sort of a group of Filipino drivers now doing so well. Eduardo Cosateng, I know as well quite well, so it's nice to see him. Nice to see him doing quite well in the BMW GT3 that he's racing in ADAC Masters. He also raced on the Toka Patch in the F4, so it was nice to see him compete there and in the UK alongside me. But yeah, I think it definitely could inspire a few people. I mean, it's quite difficult being from the Philippines, living in Philippines. I don't live in the Philippines, but I understand for Filipino drivers who live there, it can be quite difficult for traveling and all the flights and everything like that. But I think it just shows that it is possible of doing. Um, so yeah, who knows? Maybe it could inspire a lot of Filipino drivers. But I hope it will, because it would be nice to see more Filipino drivers in the motorsport industry.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely, and yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what comes of it. Just going to pull up a couple of comments that have come in throughout the chat here. Matthew Clark, he said he's a evening Matthew on Facebook. He said I'm a big fan of Daryl. He's a great driver. Awesome news on the WSR deal, and can't wait to see him in a BMW. So that's lovely.
Thank you, Matthew.
Simon Coombs. Now, I know Simon runs the Bobby Thompson fan page on Facebook. Evening, Simon. I hope you're well, mate. He says, did Bobby T put in a good word for Daryl with WSR after coaching him in the Cupra? Good question.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure there was a conversation had. Dick's pretty thorough, isn't he? So yeah, he'll probably go in and do that. Okay, Kelvin Sigsworth. Hello again, Kelvin. Said, who stands out as your biggest competitor over your years of racing? See, I like this question because obviously this was asked to Ayrton Senna, and we thought he was going to say Prost or someone, and he said Terry Fullerton in karting. Have you got one who you always raced against and thought, Oh, go away.
I think I mean, as drivers, we all try and push each other on to our each other's limits. Um, Rival wise, I haven't really had a rivalry. I'd say, to be honest. I think um, like Senna said, I know he said about the his rival, but he also said it is himself as well, because every time he's just pushing himself to be even better, even better. If he's giving it 100% effort, he'd give himself 110% effort. So I'd like to think that I'm sort of my biggest rival as well, because when I'm on the sim, if I've put in a really good lap time, or if I've done a run and I've done a certain time, I always think, can I do better? Can I do better? How can I do better? So I think I'd say for that one, quite a neutral answer, quite a safe answer myself, because yeah, I like to push myself on to be the best version of myself.
Yeah, I think that's great, and that's the healthiest rivalry you can have, because no one can have a go at you as well, which is great. Okay, just quickly one. John T James from YouTube. Hello. It says, how have you found it coming into a series like the BTCC, where there are such strong personalities, and how popular it is? Yeah, I mean, we touched on that earlier, didn't we? Just the madness around it. But you've quite enjoyed it, haven't you?
I've quite enjoyed it. It's been a journey where I've learned a lot and developed a lot as a driver. Um, it's definitely been an eye opener, the championship for me. But I've definitely enjoyed it. I've met some awesome people along the way as well, and the other drivers as well. It's nice to talk to them as well because of their successes and being in the BTCC. So I have really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot, and I've met some awesome people. It's been an awesome experience so far.
Fantastic stuff, and long may that continue. Which does kind of lead on to this next question from Divan. It was one of my questions as well, but I'm going to give Divan the credit. You've driven in British Endurance Championship, and obviously you're very happy in the British Touring Car Championship and everything that's coming up, hopefully in the next 1, 2, 3 years. Would you look at further down the line? Is there anywhere that you'd like to try and end up, even if it's just for a half season or something, whether it's like British GT or I don't know, World Endurance Championship or Aussie Supercars or anything like that? Is there anything that you think, oh, that would be fun?
I'm always sort of I'm so passionate about motorsport. I always follow other series. Racing wise myself, as long as I'm behind the wheel, I'm happy. Every car, like I said earlier, it's got their different sort of characteristics and ways you've got to adapt to the car. So yeah, I'm not really sort of looking to end up somewhere, but as long as I'm behind the wheel and as long as I'm racing, there's a smile on my face. So
Great answer. Love that. There's another one from Diffan, which I was going to touch on earlier and I forgot. So thank you, Diffan. The fuel, the new fuel that's being used this year. You were the guinea pig, I guess. How different was the car with that fuel in it? I mean, did you ever worry that something was wrong with it or anything like that?
Yeah, I think I mentioned yesterday in Alan's Tin Top Tuesday podcast that when the fuel first got put in and for FP1, I was going down the straight and all of a sudden it started like the power was cutting out, and I was thinking in my helmet, please don't be the fuel, please don't be the fuel. But then it was actually the coil pack. So once we sort of diagnosed that issue and got that changed, it went out again for the rest of the Silverstone weekend, and the car was running absolutely fine. So I was very impressed with the fuel, because there's no performance gain, there's no performance there's no difference. So to have sustainable fuel and to have normal fuel, let's say normal fuel, to have that no difference, especially with the way the world's going, environmentally wise and with the sustainability, it's definitely a massive game for the championship to explore into that element and to push for 2025. So
yeah, and it's great to hear that the performance is there straight off the bat as well. So that's a big step, isn't it, in the wider world, which is great, and it's good that you're at the front end of it, which is lovely. Okay, now Simon Combs. Simon Combs has asked another question. It's a rotten question. Oh, can we answer this one? Who would you like as your teammate at West Surrey Racing? Apologies to you, Daryl, and to West Surrey Racing, if that's a rotten one.
No, it's quite a good question, because there's a lot of drivers on the grid that I would love to have as my teammate. Each driver has their own sort of characteristics, and there's everything. There's different things about every driver. So, it to answer that question, it'd be very difficult to. I'd love to answer that question, but I really couldn't say. It would be nice for Bobby to be driving alongside me, because he's helped me massively in my career, and I was teammates with him at Team Hard as well. So if to answer your question, but it would be nice to see Bobby back in BMWC. Um, but yeah, I mean, that question, it's a very good question, because like I said, there's a lot of things that each driver has. But for me, because Bobby's helped me so much in my career, it would be nice to be driving alongside him.
Yeah, lovely. And obviously, we got a teaser with Bobby in the car last year as well. So I think we'd all like to see that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which would be great. Fingers crossed. Thank you, Simon. Great question. Okay, let's have a. Okay, what I'm going to do, I've got a lot. Let's see, we've got two more questions from the comments, which are also ones I was going to ask. Was there a driver that inspired you to become a racer, or when you were making your way through cars, was there someone that you kind of looked up to?
Yeah, it was Lewis Hamilton. I looked up to Lewis Hamilton um, when I was karting one evening in the rental carts at Rye House. I remember walking back in the building and just seeing him stood there. So it was quite a shock to me at the time. But what really stood out to me from him was that he spent a lot of time, or a lot of his time, talking to me, genuinely showing interest in the people that raced at Rye House, instead of doing it as like a publicity stunt or anything like that. He genuinely was down at Rye House to talk to his drivers, to sort of give back to the sort of grassroots, and that's what really inspired me, to have someone as big as Lewis to talk to me about motorsport and racing. And yeah, that stood out to me. I remember him asking, "Will I beat him in a race?" And I remember just getting shy and just not giving an answer. But it was yeah, it was yeah, that was a pretty cool moment.
That's fun. That's brilliant, and I love hearing that from your point of view, because obviously there's loads of people that just say, "Oh, Lewis only does this for publicity or this for attention," which I don't understand, because he's whichever way you look at it, he's trying to do something good with his platform in
Yeah.
racing and outside, and there's never anything wrong with that. So yeah, and yeah, and obviously Lewis won't see this, but we wish him well at Ferrari next year, which would be cool thing to see. That question was from Andy Bailey, so thank you, Andy. Okay, one more before my last little two or three. Sharon, who I know is a big WSR fan, says, "Which is your favourite BTCC circuit?"
I think every time I go to a new track, it's always, this track's mega, this track's awesome. Every track has their sort of different characteristics. For example, Snetterton's very long, and it's got a few different corner variations. Whereas let's say Knockhill, it's quite short, but again, you've got the aspects of Knockhill, how it's very hilly, a lot of undulation, and that big curve as well at the chicane. So there's quite a few different aspects to each track. But I have to say, every time I arrive at Brands GP, it always it always gets me on the limit. It always gets me very impressed, because how awesome that Outback section is. The Brands Indy circuits used quite a lot, whereas Outback for Brands GP, it's so awesome. Even on the sim, it's quite, this is this is fast. And because I'd say it's a proper driver's track. You've got to be so on the limit, so precise and so focused at all times. It just really tests you as a driver.
Terrific. And I'm glad you said that for two reasons. One, you've joined a group of many drivers who have come on here and said how much they love Brands GP. Even like Mario Andretti and Danny Sullivan and guys like that have said it. And also, Brands, it was the first circuit I ever went to back in '86, I think it was, or '87, and I love the place. It's always my favourite. So I'm always glad when a driver loves it as well, which is fantastic. Yes, thank you, Sharon, for the thing. I'm going to add another question onto that. Is there a circuit that you'd like to drive that you haven't driven yet? One that you've kind of tackled on the sim or seen on TV. Is there one that you'd think, yes, that one, before my time in racing is done, I've got to get round there?
I'd say the Nordschleife. It's yeah, I really want to do a track day there, but I don't think I can take my road car there because I'm too scared. Yeah, so the Nordschleife would be the circuit that I'd love to race on, purely because of how much that tests your limits. I mean, even on the sim, just memorizing the tracks one thing, to push the car to the absolute limits, lap after lap. And yeah, I mean, Nordschleife I'd really want to race on one day.
Yeah, fantastic. What a bit of tarmac that is. Okay, let's have a quick look. Okay, have you got a favourite car that you've raced? Obviously, we haven't gotten the BMW yet, so we can't upset WSR with this, so that's fine. Have you got a favourite car that you've raced?
No, to be honest, I would say no. I think I enjoy each car as much as fun they are. I mean, the Porsche is pretty good to drive because that tested your limits with how patient you had to be with the power and steering as well. And then again, the front wheel drive touring cars that I've driven, it tests your limits with how late you can brake, and not being too impatient on the power, and getting some understeer. Every single car tests your limits, even going back to the radicals. The very low down, quite lightweight, and the aero as well, similar to single seaters. I mean, yeah, I can talk a lot about the cars, but every time I drive a new car, it has its own characteristics, and I just love being behind the wheel and getting a feel for the limit.
Yeah, fantastic. I do love these answers. They're all very rounded. Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Okay, last one, and then I'm going to just put out a couple of comments just to wish you well for the rest of the year. Have you got? Obviously, it's very difficult to set targets and stuff without having been in the car. But do you have anything that you'd like to achieve in this first year with WSR? I mean, would it be somewhere in the standings that you'd like to finish in a race or in the championship or Jack Sears or anything like that? Is there anything that you are setting as a little carrot for yourself?
Yeah, I think the Jack Shears, to have my hands on the trophy at the end of the year would be really nice. I think with being with BMW and WSR, I think getting an iron for it, having the first test day, and finding my feet really with the team and the car. But that would sort of be a nice goal. The Jack Shears and a few outright podiums would be what I'm aiming for this year. And who knows? I mean, I'm going to give it my best 100% effort, and I just have to wait and see where I end up. But yeah, that would be my goals, I'd say.
Yeah, fantastic. I think Jack Sears trophy does sound good. There's a lot of people fancying you for that already, which is great. I'm just going to do a couple of little thank you comments that have come in before we wind down, before we sign off. We've got a different Evans. He says, "Thank you for a great interview, Daryl. You've come a very long way in your short motorsport career, and very best of luck with WSR and in your motorsport career." And Katie Ims says, hang on, Katie, sorry. Katie always asks, what's your favourite ice cream flavour? And your favourite biscuit? She always asks. Sorry about that.
Favorite ice cream flavor. I quite like mint. Mint's quite nice, I think.
We have got a new entry. Nice.
Yeah, new entry. And then for biscuits, I don't really eat many biscuits, but I think I don't know what you call it, but it's the plain one. It's really nice. It's the plain one. You get it in like the packet, and it's just plain biscuits. It's quite
just
nice.
the like digestive type ones.
Yeah, but it's like digestives, but it's like without the chocolate. I think I don't know how, I don't want to pronounce it, but yeah, it's quite nice to eat them. So
proper hearty biscuit, good stuff. Sorry, Kate,
Yeah.
I almost forgot. Thank you. Okay, and the last one here. What we got here? The last one to this is from Katie actually, and I think this sums up the interview and the thoughts of all the BTCC fans out there. She says, "I'm excited to see you in the BMW next season, Daryl. Good luck in the season and the rest of your career, because no doubt you're going to have a mega one." I wholeheartedly agree, and I'm sure everyone else does as well.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that comment. I really appreciate
Fantastic.
it.
That's lovely. Well, guys, thank you very, very much. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Again, well over 200 of you. And thank you for all the comments and the questions and everything. Just from me, Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you for all the support during the year. and we'll see you after Christmas. But of course, the biggest thanks go to you, Daryl. Thank you so much for coming in, especially fairly late notice. We were going to try and get you on next year, but you've stepped up to the plate. So thank you very much. It's been brilliant speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on here. And thank you everyone for watching. And I hope to see you all again next year. Have a good Christmas and a happy New Year.
Lovely. Fantastic. Perfect way to end up. Enjoy the Christmas period, guys. And we will see you all very, very soon. Good night.
Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.